Recognized was the senator from Kennebec, Senator Lachowicz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, men and women of the Senate, I'm sure it's no secret how I stand on this bill. I've made no bones about believing that there are many people in my district and across the state that need health care since the moment I got here. And I think this bill is a good one for our state. It's simple, really. We're here to do the best job for the people. It's not even really about politics, although a lot of that happens here, especially with this issue, with health care, this bill. But it really is about people we all represent. So I thought I'd talk to you about them. Last year I said I had a lot of stories of the people I met who needed access to health care. They need to be able to see a doctor. I still do. I keep those stacks of paper with my handwritten notes on them because it's important. It's important enough to them that they tell me their stories. They call or send me an email or send me their own handwritten letter. Last week I had David's story handed out to all of us here in the Senate. David is 56 years old. He has a serious heart condition. He used to work at Maine General in Waterville and then at Walmart. He's been unemployed since 2007. Not many employers want to hire a guy with a heart condition. He was one of the people whose main care was cut off as of December 31st, 2013. As a result, he couldn't afford the Coumadin that thinned his blood. Last month, he suffered a major heart attack due to a blood clot and was taken to Maine Medical Center in Portland. He had surgery, 2 stents put in, and found out that he has type 2 diabetes, yet another chronic health condition. He needs cardiac rehab services now, in addition to seeing a doctor regularly. The reality is that he will die without regular follow-up care. That's what happens with chronic heart disease and type 2 diabetes. A few years ago, a similar thing happened to my father. He was lucky enough to have Medicare, but I have to tell you, the cost of that emergency room visit, transport to Portland, and subsequent hospital stay and surgery ran into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, as I'm sure David's did. So yes, people can get care at a hospital emergency room. But in David's case, the ability to access critical medication and a family doctor might have prevented his heart attack last month. You cannot get that in an emergency room. Access to a family doctor is critical in treating chronic health conditions. And we all pay for it in the form of our increased health insurance premiums, when the uninsured get the most expensive care. And I don't know about you, but I think David's health would be better for it, and would have been a lot cheaper if we had just paid for the Coumadin. But most of you know this. The story was on your desk last week. So here's some things you don't know about David, because I think it's important that we recognize that these are real people. These aren't just stories on pieces of paper, they're real people. He has a daughter. He's a veteran, and his wife wants me to knit her a pair of socks, actually. Here's another story. Dawn used to work at the local laundromat. She worked hard. In the summer, she worked an incredible amount of hours doing laundry for a number of the camps for children in the Belgrade Lakes area. She liked her work. She didn't mind the sweat. And to be honest, she folds clothes a heck of a lot better than I can ever hope to do. But she was laid off when the laundromat closed. She hasn't found another job, although she has been looking. She has asthma. Before she could save her money so she would buy her inhalers. Then she had main care, but that was cut off. So now she can't afford to buy it, so she goes without. She has trouble breathing at times, which of course impedes her ability to look for jobs and maintain a job. And let's hope that she gets one. She's worked her whole life at very physically demanding jobs. You know what would help her get back on her feet, feel better, and possibly be better able to get another job? Access to health care. So she could get her asthma treated and get medication. Here's another one. Lacey works in fast food about 20 hours a week. I've known her for years. Maybe she made your breakfast sandwich this morning. She's worked there a number of years, yet the business doesn't like to give workers more than 29 hours a week because they might have to offer health insurance. So she doesn't make a lot of money. certainly not enough to buy her own health insurance. She'd like to work more, but there aren't many jobs out there. And when I hear people say people just work more, I think they're trying. In fact, they try all the time. And she has tried. She hasn't had a yearly physical in years. She hasn't had those yearly tests and exams that save women's lives, like pap smears. She also has carpal tunnel syndrome. It hurts to grip things. She'd like to see a doctor to see what can be done, but she can't afford it even though she works. What happens if the pain in gripping things gets worse without treatment? Will she be able to keep her job? Lacey has most of her life ahead of her. She's only 23, and she loves animals. She has a great family. Last year, I also told you about Doug. He makes a little too much on disability to qualify for main care because he had a pretty good job before he became disabled. He pays 75% of his disability check for health insurance because he wants to do the right thing. He knows he needs the health care. With this cold winter, his home is even colder than it was last winter and the winter before. And he doesn't have a lot of food. The food banks actually are pretty thin on food these days. I believe he deserves better than that. He worked his whole life. I have plenty more people and their stories. These are real people with hopes and dreams, loves and passions, families and friends. They're more than stories. They're friends and neighbors, maybe even family members. I started out talking about David because the most important thing about this bill is that it will save lives. Some of those lives will be people we know, you know. They will be parents with kids in our schools, which is what inspired me to run for office in the first place. They may be someone you see every day, perhaps the woman who bagged your groceries the last time you were in the supermarket. It's been estimated that passing this bill will save 157 lives every year. 157 lives. What are those lives worth? My guess is that David's daughter and his wife think it's very valuable. I know I do. As you all know, I've worked in the mental health field for a number of years. In that time, I have to tell you that it's always better to treat a mental health problem early. Now, I could get into the brain chemistry of why, but that would take quite a bit of time, and I usually prefer colored pens and charts and things like that. But here's the short answer. If you treat things like depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders, all those things early, the chances for full remission and better outcomes are much greater. If people get better, they are more productive in all areas of their lives. They keep their jobs. They get along better with their families and friends. They take care of their homes. They eat better. Their physical health is better. This all leads to them fully participating in our communities and working and paying their taxes and not ending up on disability or general assistance. In addition, there are many people that we pay for 100% out of our state's general fund, people that are covered what's called the consent decree, that we pay for 100% of their mental health care. Some of them are very sick with chronic mental health problems, and that's expensive. These people would be covered under this. This bill would also lead to jobs, good paying jobs, better paying than the jobs working at Walmart or fast food restaurants. It's estimated about 4,500 jobs, according to a recent report. In Kennebec County alone, that expansion would create about 367 new jobs, and an additional $32 million will be spent annually on healthcare services. A lot of these jobs will be things like phlebotomists, x-ray techs, respiratory therapists. Failing to expand coverage is not only morally irresponsible, but it's also a financial mistake. As of January, Maine is losing out on about $1 million a day. We need the jobs, economic growth, and certainly not the least, save lives. 157 lives, maybe one of them, like I said, the person who served your coffee or your local farmer. I spend a lot of time listening to people, and I want to thank my colleagues, the good senator from Kennebec and the good senator from Franklin, for your hard work in the crafting of a bill that addresses much of the concerns expressed last year from both sides. You listened. When I listen to the many people in my district who need health care. They have jobs and families. One of them is a daughter of a woman I know. She had cancer. She got treatment. She lost her job and insurance. Now she can't get the follow-up care she needs that makes cancer a treatable chronic health condition rather than a death sentence. I will not be willfully blind to the plight of her or to that of David, Dawn, or Lacey, or thousands of others. I will not be willfully blind to the economic benefits of accepting federal funds and the thousands of jobs it would bring. I will not be swayed by arguments that are based on ideology and not facts. I will not be willfully blind to what is the essential truth in this bill. It will save lives. It's not often we get to do something, to take a vote on something like that here, something so important, something so essential, something so critical. I will not be willfully blind to it. I will not willfully ignore those who need our help. I will vote to save lives. I encourage you all to do the rest. That's what I came here to do for 157 people and many more. Thank you very much, Mr. President.